Odette's hand connected with the man's face before her brain fully processed what she was doing. The sharp crack echoed through the fundraiser gala at the Fairmont, turning 200 heads in their designer gowns and tuxedos toward the source of the commotion. "You arrogant, condescending." Odette's voice shook with fury, her other hand still clutching the champagne flute that had nearly become a weapon. "How dare you speak to me like that?" The man, tall, impeccably dressed in what was clearly a custom suit, with dark hair and sharp features that suggested Korean heritage, touched his reddening cheek with something like amusement flickering in his eyes. But it was the woman beside him who captured Odette's attention in the aftermath of her impulse. Petite, blonde, wearing a stunning blue gown that probably cost more than Odette's monthly rent. She stared at Odette with an expression that wasn't shock or outrage but something else entirely. Something that looked almost like gratitude? "Fascinating," the man said, his slight accent confirming Odette's guess about his background. "In all my years, I don't think anyone's actually slapped me at a charity event. There's a first time for everything." "Ronan," the blonde woman said softly, her hand on his arm. "Maybe we should—" "No, Eloan." He gently removed her hand, his eyes never leaving Odette's face. "I want to know what I said that warranted assault. I'm genuinely curious." Odette's righteous anger faltered slightly as the reality of what she'd done crashed over her. She'd just struck a man at San Francisco's most prestigious cancer research fundraiser. A man who, judging by the deference people were showing him and the quality of his suit, was probably important. Possibly dangerous. "You called me sweetheart," Odette said, forcing her voice to remain steady. "Then when I corrected you, you laughed and said women in STEM always get prickly about titles. I have a PhD in oncology research. I've published 43 papers. And you dismissed me like I was an overreacting child." "I see." The man, Ronan, tilted his head, considering. "And you felt violence was the appropriate response?" "I felt disrespect deserved consequences." Odette's chin lifted. "Sue me if you want. Arrest me. I don't care. I'm tired of men like you treating accomplished women like decorative accessories who should feel grateful for your condescension." Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, perhaps, or reassessment. But it was Eloan who spoke, her voice barely above a whisper, yet somehow cutting through the resumed murmur of the crowd. "I wish I had your courage." The words hung between them, laden with meaning Odette didn't understand. Ronan's hand moved to Eloan's elbow, and Odette saw it. The tiny flinch, the way the woman's body tensed at his touch. "Eloan, we're leaving." Ronan's voice was pleasant, but Odette caught the steel underneath. "I think we've had enough excitement for one evening." "Wait." Odette started, but security was already approaching, summoned by the disturbance. Dr. Winters, the head of security, a weathered man with kind eyes, addressed her with surprising respect. "Are you all right?" Odette blinked. "You know who I am? Your research saved my daughter's life. Pediatric leukemia 3 years ago. Your protocol was what finally worked." He glanced at Ronan with considerably less warmth. "Do you want to press charges against this gentleman for harassment?" "No, Odette watched Ronan's grip on Eloan's arm, saw the way the woman had gone very still, very compliant. "Actually, I'm the one who struck him. He'd be within his rights to press charges against me." Ronan's smile was cold. "That won't be necessary. My wife and I were just leaving. Weren't we, darling?" "Yes," Eloan whispered. "Of course." As they turned to go, Eloan's eyes met Odette's for just a moment. A silent plea, a desperate message Odette understood in her bones. "Help me, Mr." Odette called after them, realizing she didn't know his last name. "Kong," he said without turning. "Ronan Kong. And this has been memorable, Dr. Winters, but we really must go." After they disappeared into the crowd, the security chief touched Odette's shoulder. "That man, Kong Ronan. He's Korean mafia. Runs most of the import-export business on the West Coast. Not someone you want to cross." Odette's stomach dropped. She'd just slapped a crime boss at a public event, in front of his wife. "His wife," Odette said slowly. "Eloan. Do you know anything about her?" "Eloan Ashford. She was some kind of artist before they married 2 years ago. painter, I think. Haven't seen much of her work since then. He paused. Why do you ask? Because Odette recognized that look, that flinch, that desperate stillness. She'd seen it in her mother's eyes for 15 years before cancer had finally freed her from Odette's father's control. She'd sworn then, at 17, that she'd never ignore those signs again. No reason Odette lied, just curious. She spent the rest of the gala distracted, barely hearing the speeches about her research contributions, barely tasting the expensive dinner. Her mind kept returning to Eloan's whispered words. I wish I had your courage. When Odette finally left, she found an envelope tucked under her car's windshield wiper. Inside, a note in elegant handwriting. The Jade Garden Restaurant. Tuesday, 2 p.m. Please come alone. I need help, but I can't ask for it anywhere he might see. Signed, E. Below it, a second note, different handwriting, sharper, more aggressive. Stay away from my wife, Dr. Winters. This is your only warning. Signed, R. K. 2 notes, 2 opposite messages. And Odette had 3 days to decide which one to honor. She knew even then what her choice would be. Because some things mattered more than self-preservation. Some people deserved to be saved, even when saving them might destroy you. Odette took out her phone and took photos of both notes. Then she started researching Ronan Kong, his business, his reputation, his connections. If she was going to walk into danger on Tuesday, she'd do it prepared. By Monday night, she knew 3 things. Ronan Kong was powerful, dangerous, and had connections that reached into every level of San Francisco's infrastructure. His legitimate businesses were highly successful. His illegitimate ones were whispered about but never proven. And Eloan Ashford had been a rising star in the art world before meeting him. Her paintings had sold for 6 figures. Critics called her visionary. Then she married Ronan, and her work disappeared from galleries. Her social media went silent. She became, essentially, invisible. Tuesday arrived. Odette dressed carefully. Professional but not provocative. Comfortable shoes in case she needed to run. She told her lab assistant where she was going and who she was meeting. Left a sealed envelope with instructions to open it if she didn't return by 4 p.m. The Jade Garden was a small, elegant restaurant in Chinatown. Eloan sat alone in a corner booth, wearing oversized sunglasses despite being indoors. When she saw Odette, relief flooded her features. You came, Eloan breathed, removing the sunglasses. The bruise around her left eye was expertly concealed with makeup, but Odette had spent enough time studying her mother's face to recognize the telltale signs. He hit you, Odette said flatly, sliding into the booth. After we left the gala. Eloan's fingers trembled as she touched the edge of her sunglasses. He was calm during the drive home. That's always worse, when he's calm. It means he's planning how to hurt me in ways that won't show. Odette felt rage ignite in her chest. The same fury that had driven her hand across Ronan's face. Why did you ask me here? What can I do? I don't know. Eloan's laugh was broken. I saw you slap him, saw you stand up to him without fear, and I thought, maybe you could tell me how. How to be brave. How to leave. Have you tried leaving before? Twice. The first time, he found me within hours. Brought me home and locked me in our bedroom for 3 days. Said it was for my own safety, that I was confused, not thinking clearly. Eloan's voice dropped to a whisper. The second time, I made it to my sister's house in Portland. He showed up with flowers and tears, convinced her I was having a mental health crisis. She drove me back herself. Your sister doesn't know the truth? No one does. Ronan he's careful. Charming in public, monster in private. And he has so much power, Odette. Money, connections, people who owe him favors. If I went to the police, half of them are on his payroll. Eloan's eyes filled with tears. I'm trapped. Completely trapped. There's more. Eloan pulled a medical report from her purse, sliding it across the table. I went to a clinic across the bay, paid cash, used a fake name. I'm pregnant. Odette's breath caught as she scanned the document. 8 weeks. He doesn't know yet, Eloan continued. But when he finds out, he'll never let me go. A child means leverage. Control forever. Her voice broke completely. I can't bring a baby into this. I can't let him hurt another person I love. Does he want children? Desperately. That's all he talks about. Continuing his legacy. Raising an heir. Aloan wiped her eyes. If I tell him, he'll lock me away until the baby comes. I know he will. But if I try to leave now while I still can, he'll hunt me down. And this time, she touched her bruised eye. I don't think I'll survive what he does. Odette's mind raced through possibilities, each one more dangerous than the last. Then her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Tell Aloan to come home. Now, or I come get her. Signed R.K. Aloan's phone buzzed simultaneously. She looked at the screen and went pale. He knows I'm here. He always knows. How is that possible? My phone, my car, probably my clothes, he tracks everything. Aloan stood abruptly. I have to go. I'm sorry I involved you. I shouldn't have. Sit down. Odette's voice carried the authority she used in her lab. If you leave now, nothing changes. He hurts you, you endure it, and eventually he might kill you. Or you can trust me for 5 more minutes. Aloan hesitated, then sank back into the booth. That slap, Odette said quietly, wasn't just about him disrespecting me. My mother lived with my father for 18 years. He never hit her, he was too smart for that. But he controlled everything, her money, her friends, her freedom. She died at 43, and I've always believed he killed her as surely as if he'd put a gun to her head. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be ready. Odette leaned forward. Because I'm going to help you disappear. Really disappear. And your husband, powerful or not, is going to learn what happens when he underestimates a woman with nothing left to lose. You can't help me, Aloan said desperately. You don't understand what he's capable of. Then explain it to me. Odette pulled out her phone, opened a secure notes app. Tell me everything. His security, his tracking methods, his patterns. I'm a scientist, Aloan. I solve impossible problems for a living. This is just another problem. Over the next 20 minutes, Aloan detailed her prison. GPS trackers in her phone, car, and even her jewelry. Ronan's security team that followed her everywhere. The cameras throughout their home. The financial accounts she couldn't access. The passport he kept locked in his safe. He lets me go to art supply stores, Aloan said. That's my only freedom. He thinks painting keeps me docile, gives me an outlet. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons I can go alone. He has standing business meetings then. What about your art? Do you still paint? In the studio he built me, but I haven't sold anything in 2 years. He says the art world is too exploitative, that I don't need the money anyway. Aloan's smile was bitter. He just doesn't want me having any independence. Odette's mind was already working through possibilities. The pregnancy. Have you decided what you want to do? I want to keep it, but not like this. Not with him. Aloan's hand moved protectively to her still flat stomach. I want my child to grow up free. Okay. Odette made notes. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to leave here, go home, act normal. Tell him you were shopping for art supplies. Lost track of time. Apologize profusely. Be the compliant wife he expects. That's your plan? Give up. That's phase 1 of my plan. Survive while I prepare. Odette looked up. I need 2 weeks. Can you give me 2 weeks without him suspecting anything? I don't know. 2 weeks, Aloan. Then I'll have everything ready. Transportation, new identity, safe location, money he can't trace. But I need time to set it up properly. Aloan's phone buzzed again. More urgent this time. I have to go. He's sending the car. One more thing. Odette scribbled on a napkin. This is my lab's address. If things get dangerous before the 2 weeks are up, if you need immediate help, come there. It's one of the few places in this city with security that might actually keep him out. We work with radioactive materials, so there are federal protocols. Aloan took the napkin with shaking hands. Why are you doing this? You barely know me. Because you asked for help. And because someone should have helped my mother. Odette stood. Go. Play your part. I'll play mine. After Aloan left, Odette sat alone, her coffee growing cold as she strategized. She needed resources, expertise, and connections that could match Ronan's. The problem was, she was a scientist, not a spy. She understood cancer cells and research protocols, not criminal networks and witness protection. But she knew someone who might. That evening, Odette called the security chief from the gala, Marcus Chen, whose daughter she'd helped save. I need a favor, a big one, and I need you to not ask questions. Dr. Winters, what kind of favor are we talking about? The kind that involves helping a woman escape a dangerous man. The kind that might get us both killed if we're not careful. She paused. The kind your daughter would want you to help with, if she knew about it. Silence on the line. Then, tell me what you need. Over the next week, Marcus became Odette's unlikely partner. Former military, connections in security and law enforcement, and a personal code that valued protecting the innocent over self-preservation. Together, they began building an escape plan. But on day 9, everything changed. Odette was working late in her lab when her phone rang. Eloan, hysterical, barely coherent. He knows about the baby. I don't know how, but he knows. And Odette, he's locked me in. All the doors, the windows. Her voice dropped to a terrified whisper. He says I'm never leaving this house again. Where is he right now? Odette demanded, already grabbing her keys. Business call in his study. But Odette, you can't come here. The security, the cameras. I'm not coming there. You're coming to me. Odette's mind raced. Is there any way out of that house without triggering alarms? The studio. There's a skylight. It doesn't have sensors because Ronan thought it was too high to reach. But I'd need something to stand on. And it's a 2-story drop to the ground. Can you get to the studio without him seeing? Maybe. He's been on this call for 20 minutes. When he's negotiating deals, he stays in his study for hours. Then go. Now, bring your phone but nothing else. No jewelry, no bags, nothing he's tracking. I'll have someone waiting on the ground outside that skylight. Odette was already texting Marcus. How long until he notices you're gone? I don't know. He has cameras in most rooms, but not the studio. He thought I'd feel more creative with privacy. Eloan's breathing was ragged with panic. Odette, if this doesn't work, it will work. Trust me. Odette heard Marcus's response ping through. My guy will be there in 12 minutes. Black SUV, license plate 7 Charlie Echo 5. His name is Marcus. He'll get you out. And then what? Ronan will hunt me down. Not if he thinks you're dead. Silence. What? Your car, Odette said, the plan crystallizing with brutal clarity. Marcus will drive it off the cliff road near Point Reyes. Make it look like an accident. Swerve marks, no guardrail, 100-foot drop into the ocean. Your phone will be in it. Some of your clothes. Enough to make it convincing. That's insane. That's survival. Ronan gets notified of an accident. Authorities search but never find a body. The currents there are notorious. You're presumed dead. He mourns. He moves on. And you disappear. Odette's voice hardened. But Eloan, you need to understand, if we do this, you can never surface again. No contact with family, no using your real name, no going back. You become someone else entirely. What about the baby? The baby becomes someone else too. A new identity. A new life. Odette checked her watch. You have 10 minutes to decide. 10 minutes before Marcus arrives. Stay and be locked in that house forever. Or jump through that skylight and trust that we'll catch you. Another long silence. Then, I'm moving toward the studio now. Good girl. Keep this line open. I need to know you're safe. Odette put the phone on speaker and called Marcus on another line. Change of plans. This is happening tonight. Are you positioned? 2 minutes out from the Kong estate. Dr. Winters, are you sure about this? If he finds out we faked her death, he won't. Not if we're smart. Odette pulled up satellite images of Ronan's property on her computer. The studio is on the east side, 2nd floor. Skylight access. Can you get a ladder? Already in the vehicle. Odette heard Eloan's breathing through the phone. Faster now, panicked. I'm in the studio. The skylight it's higher than I remembered. I don't know if I can. You can. Odette's voice was steel. Because the alternative is raising your child in that prison. Now climb. Through the phone, Odette heard scraping sounds, grunts of effort, then Alohan's voice. I see headlights. Is that Marcus? Should be. Marcus, confirm your position. At the east side, I see her in the skylight. Marcus's voice was calm, professional. Ma'am, I'm positioning the ladder now. When you're ready, just drop through. I'll catch you. Ronan's call just ended. Alohan whispered urgently. I heard his study door open. Then jump. Now. Odette heard the crash of breaking glass. A scream. Then Marcus's voice. Got her. We're moving. Go, go, go. Odette urged, her heart hammering. Then a different sound through Alohan's phone. A door slamming open. Ronan's voice, distant but enraged. Alohan! He knows. Alohan gasped. He's in the studio. Marcus, how long to your vehicle? 30 seconds. Ronan's running. Odette could hear him through the phone, shouting orders to security. He's mobilizing everyone. Marcus, you need to. I see them. 3 vehicles converging. Marcus's breathing was labored as he ran. We're not going to make it to my SUV. Odette's mind raced. Neighbors. Which house is closest? North side, 100 yards. Looks dark. Break in. Do whatever you have to do. Odette was already pulling up property records. That's the Morrison house. They're in Europe for 6 months. Get inside, hide, and stay silent. Ronan's people will search the perimeter, but they won't risk breaking into a neighbor's home. Too visible, too many cameras. She heard breaking glass, then silence. Minutes stretched like hours. Finally, Marcus whispered, We're inside. Basement. Lights off. Through Alohan's phone, still somehow connected, Odette could hear chaos outside, shouts, vehicles, systematic searching. Then Ronan's voice, crystal clear and terrifying in its calmness. I know you can hear me, Alohan. Wherever you are, whatever hole you've crawled into, I will find you. And when I do, a pause. I'll make you wish you'd stayed. The call ended abruptly. Odette sat frozen in her lab, adrenaline making her hands shake. This wasn't the clean escape she'd planned. This was chaos, improvisation, danger spiraling out of control. Her phone rang, unknown number. Dr. Winters. Ronan's voice was ice. I don't know how you're involved in my wife's disappearance, but I promise you, help her, and I'll destroy everything you've built. Your career, your research, your life. I have that power. Mr. Kong, I don't know what you're. Don't insult my intelligence. Alohan mentioned you. I had you investigated. Did you think I wouldn't? Brilliant oncologist, dead mother, father issues, savior complex. His laugh was cruel. You see yourself in my wife, don't you? Think you're rescuing her like no one rescued your mother. The accuracy of his assessment stole her breath. Here's what's going to happen, Ronan continued. You're going to tell me where she is. And in exchange, I won't have my people expose your research misconduct. The shortcuts you took on your breakthrough protocol, the data you massaged to get FDA approval. That's a lie, is it? Because I have a very convincing paper trail that says otherwise. Fabricated by my people, yes, but convincing enough to destroy your credibility. End your funding. Invalidate every treatment protocol based on your work. His voice dropped. How many children will die because you couldn't mind your own business? Dr. Winters? Odette felt the room tilt. He was threatening to discredit research that had saved hundreds of children's lives. Work that was her entire purpose. Her redemption for not saving her mother. You have 1 hour to decide, Ronan said. Save your life's work, or save a woman you barely know. Choose. He hung up. Odette stared at her phone, then at the wall of her lab covered with photos. Children in remission, thank you cards from families, published papers that represented 20 years of work. Then she thought of Alohan, hiding in a basement, pregnant and terrified. She made her choice. Odette called Marcus. How secure is your position? For now, stable. But we can't stay here forever. His people are searching in a grid pattern. They'll expand the perimeter eventually. I need 30 minutes. Can you give me 30 minutes? What are you planning? Something stupid. Odette was already pulling files from her computer. Everything she had on Ronan Kong, including something she'd found buried in public records. Stay hidden. Don't move until I call back. She hung up and dialed the number Ronan had called from. Made your decision already? His voice held smug satisfaction. I have. But first, I want to make sure you understand what you're threatening to destroy. My research has saved 417 children in the past 5 years. 417 families who have their children because of my work. Odette's voice was steady despite her racing heart. If you discredit that research, those treatment protocols get suspended pending investigation. Children currently in treatment will be pulled off the medication that's saving their lives. Not my problem. No? What about Jiwoo Kong? Silence. Long, dangerous silence. 8 years old. Diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia 18 months ago. Currently in remission thanks to the protocol you're threatening to destroy. Odette pulled up the medical records she'd cross-referenced. Your nephew. Your brother's only child. The heir to your organization if, God forbid, anything happens to the baby Aloan is carrying. How did you? I'm thorough. Just like you. Odette's hands were shaking but her voice remained calm. So here's my counteroffer. Leave Aloan alone. Let her disappear. Accept that she's gone. And in exchange, I don't expose what I found in your business records. You're bluffing. On pharmaceuticals. You own 40% through shell companies. They supply the precursor chemicals for fentanyl production, not for your operation, but for the cartels you claim to have no connection to. Odette's research had been exhaustive. Federal investigators would be very interested in those shipping manifests I found. The ones showing chemical shipments to addresses that don't officially exist. That's fantasy. Is it? Because I've already prepared a comprehensive report. It's in a sealed envelope with my attorney, with instructions to send it to the DEA if anything happens to me, my research, or Aloan. Odette's voice hardened. Mutually assured destruction, Mr. Kong. You destroy my work and kill children like your nephew. I destroy your organization and send you to federal prison. You're insane. No, I'm tired. Tired of men like you thinking power means you can control everyone around you. Tired of watching women suffer because no one's willing to stop you. She heard his breathing, controlled but angry. Even if I agreed, which I'm not saying I am, how do I know you'll keep your word? Because unlike you, I keep my promises. Odette checked her watch. You have 5 minutes to decide. Pull your people back, accept that Aloan is gone, and we all move forward. Or double down, and watch everything you've built burn. If she's really gone, Ronan said slowly, I'll need closure. A body. Proof. You'll get it. Give us 24 hours. Odette was already texting Marcus the plan. Tomorrow night, you'll get a call about a car accident. Ocean recovery will be difficult, but her phone, her clothes, her DNA will be there. You can mourn. You can move on. And if I see her again, if she surfaces, she won't. That's the deal. She stays dead, you stay free. Another long pause. I want your research files. The evidence you claim to have. All of it destroyed. After the funeral. After you've publicly accepted her death and moved on. Then I delete everything. And we never speak again. Fine. The word came out like broken glass. But Dr. Winters, if you're lying, if this is a trick, it's not. I'm saving a life. That's what I do. She hung up before he could respond. 24 hours later, Aloan's car was found at the bottom of the cliffs at Point Reyes. Marcus had staged it perfectly. Skid marks suggesting she'd swerved to avoid an animal. The guardrail broken, her phone shattered in the front seat. Her DNA on the airbag. One of her shoes floating in the surf. The Coast Guard searched for 3 days. Found nothing. The currents were notorious. Bodies were rarely recovered from that particular stretch of coastline. Ronan held a private memorial service. Odette watched from a distance, seeing genuine grief in his face. Or perhaps just anger at losing control. She couldn't tell the difference anymore. At the service, she approached him once. I'm sorry for your loss. His eyes were cold. Are you? I'm sorry that you loved her so badly that she had to die to escape you. Odette met his gaze without flinching. Maybe learn from that. She walked away before he could respond, knowing she'd never see him again. Knowing that if she did, one of them wouldn't survive the encounter. 6 months later, Odette received a letter. No return address, postmarked from Montana. Dr. Winters, I'm working at a community art center now, teaching children to paint. It's not the career I had, but it's honest work. Real work. My daughter, I'm calling her Astrid, will grow up free. That's because of you. The slap that started this, you told me later it wasn't just about Ronan disrespecting you. It was about finally standing up after years of watching your mother suffer in silence. You said you'd sworn never to ignore those signs again. You didn't ignore them. You saved us. I can never repay you. Can never tell you where we are or who we've become. But I want you to know, every morning when I wake up without fear, every time Astrid kicks and I know she'll be born into freedom, I think of you. The bravest thing you did wasn't slapping a dangerous man. It was choosing to help a stranger even when it might cost you everything. That's the courage I wish I'd had. That's the courage I'm learning. Thank you for seeing me, for not walking away, for proving that sometimes one person's choice to act can change everything. With gratitude I can never fully express. A friend you saved. Odette folded the letter carefully and placed it in her desk drawer next to her mother's photo. Then she returned to her research, her real work of saving lives, one protocol at a time. But she kept the letter, a reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of courage, a slap, a choice, a refusal to look away, could ripple outward in ways you'd never see but would matter forever. 3 years later, Odette received another letter. Same careful handwriting, different postmark. Astrid took her first steps today. She has your courage in her eyes, or maybe that's just what I see because you gave us the chance to exist. Thank you, always. And Odette understood. She hadn't just saved Eloan. She'd saved Astrid. She'd saved every generation that would come from that single moment of refusing to look away. Her mother hadn't been saved, but Eloan had, and sometimes that was how healing worked. Not erasing the past, but preventing it from repeating. 5 years after the slap heard round the fundraiser, Odette stood in her lab accepting a prestigious medical award for her continued cancer research. The ceremony was elegant, filled with colleagues and donors who'd supported her work through controversies and challenges. Ronan Kong was there. She saw him across the room, older, harder, but unmistakably him. He'd remarried, she'd heard. Another young woman, another beautiful face. The pattern continued. Their eyes met. He raised his glass in a subtle salute, acknowledgement of their shared secret, perhaps, or warning that he hadn't forgotten. Odette turned away. He no longer had power over her. The evidence she'd gathered was still secured with her attorney, insurance against any future retaliation. And she'd continued her work, saved more lives, built a legacy that mattered. After the ceremony, she found an envelope in her coat pocket. Inside, a photograph, Eloan and a little girl, maybe 4 years old, laughing on a beach. Their faces were turned away from the camera, unidentifiable. But Odette recognized the distinctive way Eloan held her daughter. Protective, loving, free. On the back, a single sentence. She wants to be a doctor when she grows up. Because of you. Odette pressed the photo to her chest, tears pricking her eyes. Astrid would never know her real name or her mother's past. She'd grow up thinking she was someone else entirely, in some small town far from San Francisco, never knowing that her existence was a gift purchased with courage and consequence. But she'd be free, and in the end, freedom was everything. That night, Odette returned home to her modest apartment. She'd never cared much for luxury, and added the photo to her collection. Not on the wall where visitors might see, but in a locked drawer with the letters, the evidence files, the memories of a choice that had changed everything. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Dr. Winters. A woman's voice, familiar but changed. It's Eloan. Odette's heart stopped. They'd agreed never to speak again. Contact was too dangerous. I know we said no communication, Eloan continued quickly, but I heard about your award. And I wanted you to know. I'm painting again. Under a different name, in a different style, but creating again. And every piece I create, I think of you. The woman who taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to act despite it. You're the one who was brave, Odette said softly. You jumped through that skylight into nothing, trusting we'd catch you. Because you taught me I was worth catching. A pause. Astrid asks about brave women sometimes. I tell her about scientists who save children's lives, who stand up for what's right even when it's dangerous. I can't tell her your name, but she knows your story. Odette wiped her eyes. That's enough. That's more than enough. It's everything. Eloane's voice broke. Thank you for seeing me, for not walking away, for being the person who finally said, enough. After they hung up, Odette stood at her window watching the city lights. She thought about her mother, who'd never found her own Odette, about Eloane who had, about all the women still trapped, still hoping, still waiting for someone to see their silent pleas. She couldn't save everyone, but she'd saved one. And that one had a daughter who'd grow up free. Sometimes one slap was all it took to change a life. Sometimes courage was contagious. And sometimes the smallest acts of defiance. Standing up, speaking out, refusing to ignore suffering, rippled outward in ways you'd never fully see but would echo through generations. Odette had slapped a dangerous man and inadvertently saved his wife's life. But more than that, she'd proven that ordinary people with extraordinary courage could challenge power, protect the vulnerable, and change stories that seemed written in stone. That was the real legacy. Not awards or publications, but lives saved and futures rewritten. She went to bed that night thinking about a little girl on a beach who wanted to be a doctor, who'd never know the sacrifice that gave her that dream. And Odette smiled, because that was exactly how it should be.